'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mama in her kerchief, and I in my cap, had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap, when out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutter and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave a lustre of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a minute it must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles, his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now dash away all. As the dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky, so up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his sack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry, his cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry, his droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings and turned with a jerk, and laying a finger to the side of his nose, and giving a nod up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, gave his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere they drove out of sight, Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night. A long time ago, near the town of Bethlehem, there lived a little boy whose family was very poor. His clothes were not fancy. Sometimes he was hungry, for there was not enough food to eat. But the boy had one thing that made his life happy. He had a drum. The drum had belonged to his father, and before that to his grandfather. Years before, when his grandfather was young, a group of traveling musicians had come to the little village. His grandfather was given the drum by the musicians. When the little boy was old enough, They taught him to play pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. Now the drum belonged to him. The little boy loved his drum more than anything in the world. In fact, he played his drum every day around his village. The little boy loved his drum more than anything in the world. In fact, he played his drum every day around his village. The other children in the village would follow behind him, marching and singing along as he played. Sometimes even the animals joined the parade. The boy played his drum so often and so well that the people in the village began to call him the little drummer boy. They always smiled as they heard him playing and singing, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum, me and my drum. At the same time, in a town called Nazareth, there lived a young girl named Mary. One day, the angel Gabriel appeared to Mary and told her that she would have a son and should name the baby Jesus. Now Caesar Augustus, who was the ruler of the land, sent out an order. All the people had to go to the town where they were born. There, the tax collectors would count them and write down their names. So Mary and her husband Joseph set out on a long journey from Nazareth to Bethlehem. They had to travel slowly because Mary was expecting a baby. Mary rode on a donkey and Joseph walked along beside her. When Mary and Joseph finally arrived in Bethlehem, it was crowded with all the people who had come to be counted. Joseph asked at many houses for a place to spend the night, but no one had room for them. Night was coming and it was growing cold outside. Finally, Mary and Joseph came to an inn. They asked for a room. The innkeeper said, "I have no room inside, but there is a stable by the inn where you could stay with the animals tonight." Mary and Joseph were so cold and tired that they were happy to have any place to spend the night. So they went to the little stable and slept on the hay with the animals. During the night, the baby was born. It was a boy, just as the angel Gabriel had said. Mary named the baby Jesus and wrapped him in swaddling clothes. She made a bed for him by putting hay in a manger, and she carefully laid him on the hay. That same night, some shepherds were in a nearby field watching over their sheep. All of a sudden, an angel appeared to them and told them about the birth of Jesus. The angel said, "Go to Bethlehem, where you will find the newborn baby lying in a manger." Then many angels appeared and sang, "Peace on earth and goodwill to all." When the angels disappeared, the shepherds hurried to the manger where the baby Jesus lay. Everyone was talking about baby Jesus and wanted to take gifts to him. The little drummer boy heard this and thought, "I want to go see Jesus too, but what can I take as a present?" That night, when he started to Bethlehem, he saw a magnificent sight. In front of him were 3 kings, their camels laden with heavy saddlebags. The kings were dressed in the finest clothes the boy had ever seen. Were they also going to see baby Jesus? The little drummer boy listened as he followed them. "There is the star we follow," said one. "That bright and shining star has led us over many lands for many nights. See, it points us toward the stable ahead." The 3 kings followed the star to the manger where the baby Jesus lay. When the kings arrived, all the people who had gathered around stood back. "Who are you?" asked a shepherd. "My name is Melchior," said the first, "and I have brought a gift of gold for the newborn baby." The second said, "I am Gaspar, and I have brought frankincense, a rare and beautiful perfume." "And my name is Balthazar," said the third, "and I too have brought a valuable perfume called myrrh." The 3 kings laid their gifts before the manger and said, "We have followed the star for many miles to see the newborn baby." The little drummer boy saw the beautiful gifts the kings had brought. "Oh, what can I do?" he thought. "I have nothing to give." And he hung his head and began to walk away. Then he saw the drum at his side, and suddenly he knew what his gift could be. They would sing and play his drum for the baby Jesus. He started singing softly at the edge of the crowd. Okay, so I'm going to do this. Come, they told me, A newborn king to see, our finest gifts we bring, to lay before the king, so to honor him, When the little drummer boy began to play and sing, the crowd parted to let him through. As he came near the manger, he sang, Baby Jesus, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. I am a poor boy too, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. I have no gift to bring, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. That's fit to give a king, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum, rum-pa-pum-pum, rum-pa-pum-pum. Shall I play for you, pa-rum-pum-pum, on my drum? Mary knew that the poor boy was giving the one gift, the best gift he had. It was the gift of love. She smiled and nodded her head for him to finish his song. Mary nodded, pa-rum-pum-pum-pum. The ox and lamb kept time, pa-rum-pum-pum-pum. I played my drum for him, pa-rum-pum-pum-pum. I played my best for him, pa-rum-pum-pum-pum, rum-pum-pum-pum. Then he smiled at me, pa-rum-pum-pum-pum, me and my drum. It was Christmas Eve at last. Every Christmas Eve after dinner, Maria and her brother Fritz opened their presents. Even though Maria and Fritz lived in long ago Germany, they also celebrated by giving gifts on this special day. This evening, the Christmas tree in the parlor seemed even bigger and more beautiful than ever, and Maria and Fritz had wonderful presents. They had dolls, little toy soldiers, and picture books. But Maria's favorite gift was from her godfather, Dr. Drosselmeyer. It was a wooden nutcracker carved to look like an old soldier. It did not look like any other nutcracker Maria had ever seen. What Maria did not know, though, was that this nutcracker was enchanted. After Maria and Fritz finished opening their presents, another celebration began. They were going to have an exciting Christmas party for their young cousins and friends. Everyone played with the dolls and the toy soldiers, and there were all kinds of Christmas candies and cookies to eat. Then Dr. Drosselmeyer said, Wait right here, children. I have a special Christmas treat for your party. Before the children could guess what the treat might be, he appeared with 2 puppets and a small stage for a puppet show. The 2 puppets danced and leaped high off the stage and did somersaults, while the children watched and laughed and clapped. Maria held her favorite gift, the nutcracker, through the entire puppet show. After the show was over, Fritz began to dance around just as the puppets had done. He grabbed the nutcracker from Maria and leaped up, holding it high. Fritz could not dance quite as well as the puppets. He stumbled, and the nutcracker went flying across the room, landing near the Christmas tree. When Maria ran to pick up her favorite gift, she saw that his wooden jaw was broken. Oh no, she cried. Let me fix you, you poor nutcracker. She carefully tied the nutcracker back together with her handkerchief and put him under the Christmas tree. Then Mother called, It's time for bed, and all the guests had left, and it was time to put out the lights and go upstairs. The house was quiet, but Maria could not sleep. She was thinking about the nutcracker under the Christmas tree. Maria tiptoed downstairs. When she opened the doors to the big parlor, she was surprised to see that the Christmas tree was lighted again. She picked up her nutcracker, but he looked larger than he had when she left him under the tree, and his jaw was not broken anymore. The nutcracker seemed to be growing. As he grew taller and taller, his carved wooden face slowly changed before Maria's very eyes. The nutcracker became a handsome young prince. The prince bowed to Maria and thanked her. Her act of kindness had broken a magic spell that had been cast over him. Just then Maria heard scufflings and a scratching sound, with pattering and squeaking noises, and she looked up to see a room full of huge grey mice. What are mice doing here? Maria wondered. The mice were led by a mouse king who had 7 heads and carried a sword. Just as the prince leaped over to Maria to protect her, they heard the sounds of a trumpet and a drum. Out of Fritz's gift box left under the Christmas tree sprang a whole troop of toy soldiers that grew to life size as soon as they stepped out of their box. The soldiers, led by the prince, began a great battle with the Mouse King and his army of great mice. What a battle it was! Back and forth the two armies fought. Maria began to be afraid that the mice would win. The prince and the toy soldiers seemed to be getting tired, but just as Maria saw her chance to help, she took off her slipper and threw it with all her might at the Mouse King, and down he went. The battle was over. As quickly as they had come, the army of grey mice scampered away. The prince was now completely free from the magic spell. He could go home to his own land. "Would you come with me?" he asked Maria. "Yes," answered Maria. So the prince led Maria to the Christmas tree, which seemed to have grown taller. He raised his arms, and suddenly the prince and Maria were no longer in her parlor. Instead, they found themselves in the Nutcracker Prince's own kingdom, and all around them were beautiful dancing snow fairies. "Welcome to the land of sweets," said the prince. Maria saw sights that she had never dreamed of. Here the houses were made of chocolate and peppermint sticks. There was a river of lemonade and a lake of sugar and almond milk. Maria and the prince traveled down the lemonade river, passing by lollipop trees and candy flowers. They rode in a little boat shaped like a seashell. Finally, they arrived at a sparkling castle made entirely of spun sugar. This was the palace of the Sugar Plum Fairy, who came forth to greet them. The prince said, "Maria, with her kindness, has rescued me from an enchanted spell. In the battle with the Mouse King, at just the right moment, she attacked with her slipper and saved me." When the Sugar Plum Fairy heard this, she invited Maria and the prince to sit on her royal throne. She threw a great party to celebrate. Everyone in the land of sweets came. As tinkling music filled the hall, the Sugar Plum Fairy did a graceful fairy dance. Next came a parade of dancers, Chinese dancers, whirling Arabian dancers, leaping and twirling Russian dancers. Maria had never seen such sights. There were chocolate dancers, penny whistle candy dancers, and even dancing clowns. Just when Maria could not imagine anything more grand, she was surrounded by enchanted flowers. Everywhere she looked, there were beautiful flowers, buttercups and daffodils, roses and tulips. They seemed almost to float as they waltzed round and round the great ballroom. Everyone joined in the dancing. Maria was a little afraid to dance. Then the Nutcracker Prince approached and said, "All this dancing is for you, so you must dance too. Come with me." So Maria and the prince whirled and whirled and whirled, until Maria was a little dizzy and could no longer tell exactly where she was. She rubbed her eyes and sat up. She was beneath her own Christmas tree in her own house, and here beside her was her Nutcracker. Where was the prince, the dancers, the Sugar Plum Fairy? Oh, could it all have